Well, good evening and welcome to this edition of the Island Stats Football Show. I'm your host, Earl Baston. Joining me is co-host Macy O'Dell and Coach Keita. Guys, let me just run down the scores, the results from this past week of football. As we know, on Thursday night out at the PHC Stadium, it was PHC 0, Hamilton Parish 4. And then last night at BAA, of course, on Friday night, the match between Dandy Town Hornets and Devonshire Cougars was postponed due to the Island White power outage. And then last night at BAA, it was Robin Hood 0, St. George's Colts 6. And these are Premier Division matches. And then today, up at the Somerset Cricket Club, it was Somerset Trojans 0, North Village Rams 2. And at Lords and St. David's, it was Crossroads 1, Crossroads 2, Boulevard Blazers 1. In First Division, it was BAA 1, Southampton Rangers 3, Island Rangers 0, Young Man Social Club 5, and Somerset Eagles 1, Paget Lions 6. Let's jump right into Thursday night Premier Division match at Stadium Lane, where league leaders, PHC, were looking, I guess, to extend their lead at the top of the table. Unfortunately, Hamilton Parish had a big say in that not actually happening. Maceo, having a look at that particular game, your thoughts on Hamilton Parish? I mean, a quick start, when you find yourself up 2-0 inside the first 5 minutes, you must be feeling good about yourself and against the league leaders as well.
Well, this result, the only thing that surprises me is that PHC allowed that gap to happen to lose 4-0. The fact that Hamilton Parish beat PHC, it actually doesn't surprise me. For me, Hamilton Parish, player for player, they actually had the better footballer from a technical standpoint. They probably don't have the mentality as a top club like PHC to win. But for me, knowing these players and how they develop in their youth days, these are very tactically, astute and competent players that they have. And also knowing Sergio, he's one of the better students of the game from a coach of how he puts that puzzle together and his expectation how the players to play. So Paris totally bossed the game on PHC, and they were a handful for PHC, and I gather getting 2-0 up increased the belief. So I think sometimes when I'm seeing Parish, if it's not working, if they're not winning by 50, 60 minutes, maybe their belief goes. Like I saw that against North Village when they played North Village, even though they bossed the game, their belief went after North Village scored, and the belief went. In this game, the belief was there because they scored early. So, like I said, for me, the only surprise is that PHC allowed itself to be beaten so handsomely. Right. 4-0. It doesn't surprise me, although I picked PHC to win it because they're been in momentum. It doesn't surprise me that Parish has been able to beat them. I think last week I said, Parish is the most dangerous team in the league right now.
Yeah, you were toying between the two, and you were leaning towards Hamilton Parish, but then
the only reason I didn't pick Hamilton Parish last week because that's PHC.
Right.
That's PHC, and Hamilton Parish as a club, as a stature, they don't have the winning pedigree or the history pedigree of a PHC. Right. So I leaned towards PHC, but I was torn, and I'm upset that I allowed my football brain to my football heart to override my football brain.
Your heart, yep.
Well, we'll see later on in the show because it's FA Cup quarterfinal week, and guess what? PHC is playing at home at night against Hamilton Parish. They lost 2 games at home this season. Okay,
yeah, so that feels cursed.
They better actually be FA. Can they play 3:00 in the afternoon?
Yeah. Well, they'll fix it. I know they'll fix it.
Well, I was going to ask you, I mean, you're top of the table, you're down 2-0 after 5 minutes. It's got to be a little frustrating at times because as the game wears on, you feel like you're getting an opportunity, but then to give up a third goal and a fourth goal and not get one, yourself, how would have PHC been feeling?
Well, they obviously didn't start the game how they wanted to start it, right? I won't say they came in overconfident, but they have had the momentum, and they probably felt that they can take this team, right? But as you said, Paris had different ideas, and Maceo being at the match, he would say that you're listening to him that Paris from the whistle took the game to PAC. And that's what we have to be mindful of in this country. The game is played on the field. So no matter who's got momentum, who's doing what, when the whistle blows, it's the team that's coming to win. That's gonna win the game. I was very surprised by the result, period. And I could see people's statuses as the game was going on. I was just like, oh wow. I didn't realize the final score was actually 4-0. I think the last update I saw was 3-0. And I was like, PHC have probably been in that position maybe once or twice this season, so I know that they will know what they have to do to bounce back. But it's not a good feeling. It's a long week, and Thursday night match. Again, they probably would have thought, sort of like a Liverpool would have thought, okay, we're playing Wolves. We could go to this match a little less intense. They just came off beating North Village 1-0 through a penalty, so they were coming to this match a little less, thinking they had to work as hard. But 2 goals in less than 5 minutes, and then now, oh wow, do we have the mindset to bounce back from that? In any of our teams, do they have the mindset to say, you know what, okay, it's still 85 minutes to play, right? And try to take the game to PAC. What were the coach's tactics? Did he try to go and find that goal, which caused more openings, which allowed Hamilton Parish to score? But again, the game's played on the day. Lucia is up on that night, and Hamilton Parish would have been up for it. They have a little bit of momentum themselves, and they would have definitely been up for this match, and Sergio would have prepared them for this match and let them know like nothing's going to be given to us, so we have to go and get it. And that's why they don't.
Yeah, and welcome, Punchy.
Thank you.
That result, no worries. That result on Thursday night with Hamilton Parish defeating PHC 4-0, was that a surprise for you?
Yeah, because if you look back on look at what we said should happen, what we thought the results would have been, it was very surprising. Yeah. I think Maceo spoke about the fact that what Paris are capable of doing. It seems like they're coming into the urn right now. That was a very, very good result. And even to keep a clean sheet. I don't know, what my concern would be, not my concern, it makes me happy the fact that now the champions, the league is spread wide open. It's going to be 14. I keep saying it's going to be for 4 teams. That becomes a PHC, St. George's, Cougars, and North Village. We will talk about that result today for North Village, but I'm very surprised about that result. Was it an off day for PHC? Will they bounce back? Of course they will bounce back. But you got to give kudos to Parish. Look at the results in the last couple of games. They went to St. George's. They blew 1-1 with St. George's. I think Maceo has stated the fact that they are capable. The performances, the quality that they have, it seems like, well, in the second half of the season, it's beginning to happen for them.
Sure.
And it's really done the right thing for the league. It's really exciting. It really is.
Parish have a player in there called Mateo Turner. I don't know how he's going under the radar for the national team. Mateo was, he grew up in North Village. He's super intelligent. He left Bermuda maybe he was 15. He's super, super intelligent as a center back. And also they have a player in Otterbridge, Korean Otterbridge, another super intelligent. Now, Korean Otterbridge needs a bit of fitness.
Peach.
I think his internet just stopped. But one thing's for sure, everywhere I went on Friday, people were saying oh, you all got it wrong. I said, and you got it wrong too. Because if you'd have voted, if you'd have picked PHE as well. And they all stopped and they smiled and said, yeah, true.
Of course. Of course. There's nobody, not with the form that Derby and there's no one would have
And
said.
I said this. I said, barring the Hamilton Parish people, I don't think there'd have been too many others that would have picked Parish to win that. But kudos to Hamilton Parish. They came out, they got the job done. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Then, as I indicated, the Friday night match between the Dandy Town Hornets and Devonshire Cougars was postponed. So we moved to last night's match. Where Robin Hood went down 6-0 to St. George's. With the win, St. George's moved to the top of the table, 1 point ahead of PHC, and they are, I believe, 2 points ahead of North Village, and they are 5 points ahead of Devonshire Cougars, who have a game in hand. So, St. George's up 2-0 at halftime, and were able to score 4 times in the second half. They made a statement again, you've got to beat the opponents you're supposed to beat. Punching, you're looking at it. They got the job done, and they now move on to a quarterfinal. When I say the quarterfinal, that's this week's match. So you get rid of what you have to get rid of in the league. You're taking care of that business. So they'll be top of the table for 2 weeks now? Yeah. The week after next. Yeah.
That's a real deal. I think that's a real deal. I mean, when you look at you got to also remember that who they have at the playing for them now. The whole boys, Jonte, they are really they're really something. I just think that I put them on for the fact to will be history make it that they can win the league. They're capable of doing that there. They're capable of really doing that there. And they're shown that they mean business. I have to give credit to the coaching staff down there, considering that we have a Jonte coming back from where he was playing in England, the whole boys. The finding the building an institution down there. And I'm glad for him. I think that, let's say, for instance, who they have in the FA Cup, they could be twofold. They could, if possible, they could win the league, and they also can go into the FA Cup final. It's possible with the quality they have, with what they have there. So it was not by chance. It's no way they're going to lose to Robin Hood. It's just no way. As you know, when they went to the FA Cup, look how many goals they scored in the last. Whoever you're playing against, look how many goals they've scored.
They've been scoring a lot of goals in the second 45 minutes of matches.
I think they will have to learn in what they have to do, and I have discussions with them. Well, those games against PHC, have you your coaching staff's going to fix that? So I think we're talking about a turnaround for St. George's. And what it is growing to the league in terms of who they have at their disposal, the players there, the coaching staff, and what they have achieved thus far.
Maceo, I mean, we've talked in length about the problem at Robin Hood. Just not got enough players. They've had an influx of players come in to help them in the second half of the season, but it's still going to be a struggle for them. They had Detroit Smith and Gould last night. It makes it difficult when you got to keep chopping and changing, and it's already not working.
Yeah, I mean, Robin Hood is manifesting the problem with Bermuda football and not having sustainable development at the younger youth age. And when you're not got sustainable development at that point, it's always going to be challenging at this level. And the other part about Robin Hood, although they're created a partnership with Work Arches, is thrusting young players into this environment too quickly. When you thrust them into this environment too quickly and they're not ready, you can do more damage to them than I know we got a 16-year-old who's playing first Premier League. We got a younger player that we're putting up I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that from a social standpoint. I don't believe that from a physical standpoint. I don't believe in that from a technical standpoint, and I don't believe in it from an experience. To put a young player at this level, he's got to be very, very special. I mean, and when I say that, the young players that are special, look at Pele playing in the World Cup at 17 years old. You know, that's the level of special. We are putting very average young players at this level, and it could do a lot of harm to them, you know, in their development trajectory. So there, it's a lot of trouble, right? It's a lot of trouble for Robin Hood.
Coach, let me ask you, what's the advice or what's the word you've been getting from, your inside coaching staff in St. George's? Because obviously they are achieving something, that they haven't achieved before. They're this late in the season, they're leading the league. There's still games to go. They've got to keep their heads. They've got to keep training. They've got to keep doing all the things they've been doing up to this point.
Sorry, you can hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, Eddie Cook. Funny story. The assistant coach was just calling me. In all honesty, we haven't really talked. We've had some other things, going on.
Yes.
Condolences to my sister-in-law, whose mother passed last week. So that's been the focus. We have had to really put football on the back burner. But I don't think much has changed, right? You look at Jonte scores 3 goals. I think Blaze scores 2 and Cash scores 1. So they're still getting the goals from those players, and they're going to continue to get those goals from those players. As I said in the beginning of the season, it's too easy for them. To make those points with Robin Hood, it's a way to manage those young players, which I totally agree with you. They may be in a position where they have to throw those guys in due to numbers. If Detroit's having to play in goal, means they don't have a goalkeeper. Teams have to understand that when you are you need a lot more senior, experienced players around them to kind of help blood them in. But if Robin Hood is being forced to use 4, 5, and 6 of them, there's no leadership. There is no one to really help them, and that can do harm because it becomes, I don't want to play football anymore, or I'm not sure enough to get hammered, and that was what Robin Hood was facing initially, and I hope they don't suffer from that again. So Robin Hood, they're in a really sticky spot, but they have conceded so many goals. I cannot imagine they are going to be able to recover from this, and it may be a good thing for them
48.
to actually get demoted.
Yeah,
right?
48 in the league. 48 league goals in the league. They've conceded.
And they are bottom. They're at the bottom,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. 1 point.
So, that would just try to just ride out the rest of the season, put their best foot forward, and manage their expectations, manage emotions, manage expectations, because this is where they're at. This is where they're at. So, yeah, that's the best thing that we can do is the best that they can do. Sorry. And to be honest with you guys, who really is going to beat St. George's? I know somebody's going to beat them and come back and say, what did you say? But, let's look at that St. George's team. Again, a team with momentum, the team that's probably been most consistent this season. That blip against PAC, but you can almost guarantee St. George's walks on the field, they're coming off with the W. So, yeah, whatever they're doing, keep doing, guys. They won't win cup match, but they can win the league.
Okay, let's take our first commercial break on that. We'll be right back.
Putting down the weapons.
You seeing this?
John Barrett & Son is bringing us something fresh and exciting for the new year. Bai Antioxidant Infusion Beverage. Bai delivers the natural antioxidant benefits of the coffee fruit in glorious combination with a variety of exotic fruit flavors, with only 1 gram of sugar and 10 calories per bottle. The folks at Bai are inviting us on a world tour through these amazing flavors. Brasilia blueberry, Zambia Bing cherry, Costa Rica clementine, Malawi mango, Panama peach, Ipanema pomegranate, Kupang strawberry kiwi, and more. Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends. And that's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that people have allowed me and trusted me to be in their life.
And welcome back. Before we go into the games from today, this is from Robin Hood. We will go down, but the feeling in the changing room and on the field is good, and we will finish out the season. So
that's beautiful. So that's managing expectations, right? Exactly what I said.
Right.
They're managing the expectations of what it is that they know they're going to get from this season, and it is what it is,
Yeah. Well, let's go up to the Somerset Cricket Club today, where the Somerset Trojans went down 2-0 to North Village Rams. North Village bouncing back from that 1-0 loss to PHC at home last week. Punchy, North Village, doing, as I keep saying, week after week, they do just enough to get over the line. And it don't have to be pretty sometimes. It just has to be sufficient to get you 3 points. Was that a case today?
Yeah, they were very proficient today, Earl. I remember I was really critical of the midfield, the areas that they play in the midfield, which was it just weren't good. But I thought they really put in performance today. It's not on a 3 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon to go up to Somerset with maybe 500 people there. Somerset will play, and anybody been up to today to play against Somerset today would have had a problem. But I thought what I saw with Norfolk today, they got back to, remember, the clean sheet, and 2 well-taken goals by Mr. Smith. Well-taken goals. But what I saw today was actually a work ethic today. And, I got Jalen Harvey. Steele is really excellent, But again, what I saw Norfolk today was what they got back to. Closing people down, keeping a clean sheet. And that's what, if you check this out now, they have really shown us that in the beginning of the season, why they were the top of the league, because they weren't very defensively sound. And I saw it today. And it showed. It could have been 4. That score could have been 5-2 today. The midfield area that I complained so much about, this young man, number 12, he came from. He covered a lot of ground. I was very impressed what I saw today with North Village. Good again. Well deserved 2 points, 3 points, and. Well, we're headed for a showdown now. We're headed for a showdown.
Sure.
You are headed for a showdown, and trust me, it's going to be. I'm saying this. I'll make it quite clear to you guys. It's going to be St. George's, North Village, and those games that are going to matter. St. George's and North Village game. St. George's, North Village, and Hamilton Parish, right? And I think that's what's going to come down to.
Yeah,
and I think really today. It was getting back to basics with North Village. The defensive, they shot out today, and I think that's what is very important. I think for them, if they're going to actually win the league or win the FA, that's where the strength lies in the defensive behavior.
Yeah, Mason, let me ask you: the Somerset team you saw on November the 11th and the Somerset team you saw today, are there two different teams? Are they two different teams?
Very two different mentalities. I mean, watching the game today, what I would say, and I know it's going to sound negative towards Somerset. Norfolk got the result because it was Somerset, and that's not a Somerset that I'm used to seeing in a circumstance like this. Norfolk had to, for me, when Norfolk has to play a PHC that's in a different mentality and a different mental state right now, it's a difference. Whereas Somerset's in such a different mentality and a different, there's in such a sort of spiral type of mentality right now. They know they have nothing to play for in the season. Like they're not going to win the FA. They're shut their load now. They're in a different survival mode. They're just lacking real quality up there. They're lacking any quality and any consistency from a mental toughness perspective. So a team like North Village can get at them today. They can get at them. They can keep a clean sheet. And they can get at them. Certain players, North Village can look good in this type of situation. It's going to be interesting to see how they look against Hamilton Parish, how they look against St. George's. That's where the measuring point for North Village league potentials are, how they measure. And I actually think Hamilton Parish holds all the keys for who wins the league this year. They hold the key. And out of those four teams is the one that can beat Hamilton Parish that I feel will win the league.
Okay.
Excuse me, Mace. I'm glad you brought that. I'm sorry to cut into this.
No.
Yeah.
It's very important what Macy was saying to talk about what in terms of quality. Mm-hmm. And I thought that Norfolk showed a bit of that in the midfield area that I complained about so much last week. It's very important to recognize, and I think it's very important to recognize how we decipher teams and say, listen, this is what you're lacking. I thought the work rate, I just think it's so important to identify those things that happen with teams that are at the cusp. And I think that's what I was telling you about St. George's. I think if John Tay, there's certain things that I think St. George's have. So, it's going to be a showdown. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, Coach, let me ask you, because let me just give you this scenario. The bottom three in the Premier Division is Robin Hood at the bottom with 1 point, Boulevard Blazers with 7 points, Somerset Trojans with 10 points, and Crossroads have 14. But 10 points, 7 points. If you're Somerset, you need to pick up a win or a point or something to make it a little more difficult for a Boulevard to catch you. How do you go about it with what one would consider the morale totally different from what we saw from that match in the final?
So I obviously didn't see the match, and I would hope that Somerset do realize that they do have something to play for, that they didn't just lay down and let North Village dominate, right? So Somerset have to keep that in mind, that they still have to get over the finish line. Like mathematically, they still can be demoted. So I would hope that is the carrot that's dangling for them, regardless of anything else. And they have a trophy this season, and they need to find that form. They need to find, you just can't be a cup team, right? They have to find consistency within their playing and what their playing style is. So, you were saying that it was just a Somerset that, North Village played a PAC last week. PAC didn't wipe them off the park or whatever. But at the end of the day, North Village is doing the things that they need to do with the opponents that they face. And we know that St. George's and Hamilton Parish are going to be tough opponents. Everyone knows that they're going to be tough opponents. But do what it is that they have to do to get past those opponents. Maybe they will, maybe they won't, right? But I like the fact that they are dominating the team that they should dominate. it's the same. PAC went to St. George's and PAC beat St. George's. St. George's went to Robin Hood and smashed Robin Hood, right? So for me, that's actually a good thing. But for Somerset, it's just finding what it is you need to do, and to pick up those points where you can. Again, what teams should Somerset be able to dominate to get a few more points next to their name so that they make sure that they are safe. And that's how they have to look at it. It doesn't mean that they, on the day, won't take down a big team. That's, Everton, Arsenal. Let's look at it. It's, I'm not comparing leagues, but Somerset may be on the day. Hamilton Parish beat PAC 4-0 Thursday night. It may be a day that Somerset shows up to play and the other team don't. So it's definitely not impossible, but they will definitely look to dominate those teams that they need to dominate.
As they say in sports, that's why we play the game.
Yes.
But we're going to take another commercial break, and when we come back, we'll talk Crossroads Boulevard and First Division results. We'll be right back.
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends, and that's what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that people have allowed me and trusted me to be in their life.
Putting down the weapons.
You seeing this? Here's one of our favorite feature brands, true veterans of the food awareness movement. Bob's Red Mill, the U.S. leading miller of organic whole grain foods. Only whole grains have the entire value developed during growth. And once you try them, you know that this is the way food was intended to be. Try Bob's Red Mill blanched almond, whole wheat pastry, and artisan bread flours, and 1-to-1 gluten-free baking flour, unsweetened shredded coconut, gluten-free homemade wonderful bread mix, and a variety of rolled oats. Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
Well, at Lord's at St. David's, Crossroads scored in stoppage time to defeat Boulevard Blazers 2-1. One thing I would note is that Ian Coates back in the team. He was back playing for Boulevard today. Him in the team can make a big difference with the players they have, and it looks like he's come back to try and help. Salvage something in the season. You look at a team like Crossroads, Coach, as we always talk or have been talking, second half of the season for the last few years, they've always made this great escape. And it looks like they're going to do it again. But they still have work to be done. Just by getting over the line against a team like Boulevard, it must do a world of good for the team's confidence, knowing that and they were down to 10 men because they had a man sent off. So 10 men getting a 2-1 win is got to be a big morale booster for Crossroads.
I must have watched my team yesterday. They're obviously trusting the process now. So they're obviously trusting what Gumbo is doing. They would have recognized some of the mistakes that they made in the first half, and they probably still are making, right? Because it's a work in progress. So, they are, again, taking control of a team that they probably feel comfortable and confident enough to take control of, they'll get a result against Robin Hood. And keep in mind, they got a result against Dandytown not too long ago as well, right? So kudos to them. Like that's they're getting results where they can, because for them, again, it's that survive. We're gonna survive the Premier Division, and I just hope that they can go from strength to strength for Gumbo's sake. Young, new job, new coach. He inherited a team that he really didn't have much say in, and I'm sure he will have a little more say in what they do next season. So that's great that they are picking up those points when they can.
Yeah, Maceo, looking at a team like Boulevard, as we all know, changes have been made. To come to just fall 2-1, would that be somewhat of a morale booster for them? We know last week they lost in the FA, or week before last they lost in the FA to a Corona team. That was like the straw that broke the camel's back. And, they haven't had the best of season, but to go St. David's and only lose 2-1 in a goal that was scored in stoppage time, things are not good. But when things are bad, they always seem to go bad. But would they feel a little bit more confident and having now Ian Cook back?
Now we have to put this in perspective of who Boulevard is and who Crossroads is. Boulevard's been a club in Bermuda that's been around from, versus a club like Crossroads and when they've been around. So Boulevard losing 2-1 to Crossroads is meaningless. It's meaningless to Boulevard. It's meaningless to football, because you got a new club like Crossroads, and I'm not being disrespectful to Crossroads and what they're doing, but you got a new club beating a Boulevard that's been a Premier League champion. A Boulevard's been a Premier League champion, so this does nothing for morale. This does nothing for confidence, because Boulevard still continue to stay in the relegation zone. They didn't win, and they lost in the last minutes of the game. Now, this is more respectful and more kudos to what Rolf is doing down there. He's starting to build a team in his own image, because this is something Rolfie would do in a game. Rolfie was always fit. He can pop up in last minutes of games and score goals, and now his team's being molded in his image. And Boulevard is now molded in the image of that club now, and what's happened. And the image that is being molded is this organization. So no, the answer to the question is no, this does nothing for Boulevard to lose 2-1 to a Crossroads that's a new club versus an established club like Boulevard. This has nothing to do. Yeah, Boulevard's still in crisis for me.
Okay. Punchy, if you look at the two teams, as we've noted before, Crossroads have been heading in the right direction. Boulevard not so the same. How do you look at that particular matchup and the end result?
It's not even easy to figure out. One team is going that way, the other team is going that way. It's what we've talked about always in this country in terms of development, in terms of where you're going. The old behavior of Boulevard, when you had the Andrew Baskins and
Royce, Evans, Bigger.
When they were doing so great, it's unbelievable for people not to understand what we're talking about here in terms of progression, in terms of where your club is going. Boulevard can't survive like that, though. And the good players are going to leave. And I hope Ian Cook leaves and goes somewhere else to play. Because he's a better player. You don't need to be in that organization. I'm only saying this right now. The point is, we're a small country, right? We're going to have, and why would you stick like what's happening to Jomar? It ain't going to happen like that, though. What is the junior program like? Where are they going? What I think about more is what happens to Paget. As the perfect example in terms of strategy to where you're going in the next 4 or 5 years. And this country's got to start thinking about for our top clubs. What do you start thinking about that there? And it's sad, but Boulevard are heading in a direction that probably it's going to eventually the best players need to leave and go somewhere else and play. That's what I feel about them. Yeah. And Let them be the in the city. In the city, remember this country's small, so I think Boulevard in terms of in the city clubs, they're, they're the worst. They're the worst. So where would they go from if the best players leave? Say Clay Dow leaves. But I think Ian Cope needs to go play for somewhere else. He definitely needs to play for somewhere else. And they have where they're going. So what you and I are having this conversation about Boulevard is a perfect example with the Island Rangers. What are you gonna do in the next 4 or 5 years? Where you going?
Well, I'm glad you brought up the first division because for the second time this season, Southampton Rangers have defeated BAA. They beat them 5-3 at Southampton Oval, and now they've beaten them 3-1 at BAA. And I was to the game early, and I witnessed half hour before the game, BAA is warming up. Southampton Rangers ain't even got a team yet. But they strolled in, didn't warm up. Well, some guys did, and in 3 minutes they were up 1-0. And it just, BAA equalized, but 2 more goals from Southampton Rangers, and they find themselves, and BAA are on top of the first division standings.
But
so, yes.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I'm cutting in. Isn't that what we talked about in terms of like the players to show up? What is BA about, and what this team with what with Andrew, this result today? Wow, it shows that still this country is still like in topsy-turvy. Like the guys will show up and then they're gonna beat BA with a good coach. What is it? So what was wrong with Southampton Rangers? What's been wrong with Southampton Rangers? They didn't show up for this one game.
And you know what? The sad thing about that. The sad thing about that. I mean, I can see why they will beat BA because they just probably bullied in the attitude, and it continues to show the youthness. And the question I said, the comment I made earlier, having young players at this level and what they're going to be exposed to at this level. Are they mentally, physically, emotionally capable of what comes with this level? But the sad part about it, Rangers beating BA, this is going to be celebrated. It's going to be celebrated amongst our football community like it's something good. We're going to celebrate that we didn't warm up, we didn't prepare properly, but we can win. And that's the nature, that's actually culture of our football these days. We can win without proper preparing because I'm a good player or I've got some talent. That's the nature of it, and it's sad. Actually, it is sad. The question I would have about that is how were they allowed to actually play the game if they didn't have? I mean, the team sheets, all that's got to be in an hour before the game. At least it used to be. That used to be the standard. All that has to be in. How do they allow to play the game if their players are not there, and synchronized with the structure of the game? Like here's the structure of the game. Here's the synchronized structure of the game. And why wasn't that upheld? Why wasn't that upheld? That gotta be like if you look at any game outside Bermuda, or it should be in Bermuda, the warm up time is allotted. This is allotted. This is allotted. And if you're not in that, why are they allowed to participate? That's the question that I would ask, and I will put that question to match officials and referees to answer that type of question. Why were they even allowed? Because it brings the game into disrepute. It cheapens the quality of the game, and this is allowed, right?
150,000%. Like, I am appalled that behavior is tolerated. And like you said, who is responsible to, and if your times are correct, Earl, there has to be a pre-match timeline. I don't know if we have this, or if I'm not a match commissioner, so I don't know what they have to do with regards to that. But that is absolutely embarrassing, actually.
Yeah.
As a coach, it's like, oh, you didn't make your time, but we have to be, as coaches, we have to be the ones to change the culture. It's on us. It's on us. You forfeit that match, right? I think that is just absolutely ridiculous. That they and as Maceo said, it will be. Yeah, we won. So what? You know what I mean? Like, you know, BAA doing the right thing. BAA on time, doing a proper warm up because they have a good structure. And these guys just walk on like it's a backyard kick.
I would think it would offset BA's mentality if the other team's not there and warming up.
Again, absolutely.
And I just saw the comment that they give teams time. Why? If you're not there, like, come on, you're undermining the structure of the game. Yeah, you're undermining the structure of the game. You're undermining the integrity of the game.
And I don't care who it is.
To allow, if they're not got their team sheet in, and I'm not saying that's the case. I don't know, but they if they're not warming up at the right time, they're not doing all the things that facilitate the structure and the integrity of the game. They should be penalized for that. And
that's basic stuff. And that's something that should be outlined. And that's easy to adhere to. That's not even because we're a small country. That's not even something that you have to worry about. Oh, I'm going to upset my friends and family. This is what this says. If you are not here to warm up on time, if you do not have your team sheet in on time, it's that simple. You forfeit the match. It's not even about, because we want to play the game. No. You have to kind of do those things so that they won't do that again. So Rangers, what is to deter Rangers from ever doing that again?
And they was doing that last season, right?
They may do it next week because they won.
Remember, they was doing that last season.
They may be superstitious. They don't think that's right again.
Really, the other thing about this conversation that we're all having here, when people listen to this conversation, about where's the Rangers going? Like, they have this facility. Where are they going? What is this? And I think it's very important for us to recognize for the benefit of this country. And I keep saying about what comes first, the country. And I think Rangers is definitely a case study where what are they got with the facilities they have? Where are they now? Can you believe this happened up there? No wonder nobody wants to go up there and play. I'm only saying this for now, because in terms of if this country is going to go forward and for the right direction, we're going to start pointing fingers at places like that in terms of what you're doing. So Repagent, it would be, imagine Repagent what they're trying to build there. Imagine Repagent would have that facility at Rangers and where they're going. What would there be in the next 2 years? Because they're trying to build an academy. They're trying to build an institution. Rangers is not trying to build an institution in football. They ain't in the cricket. I'm not going to go into that, but they just, seriously? And the thing is, we're going to point this out. It ain't going to work. That's, and I'm happy. I'm hoping that in one day, the country will see that teams like Hampton Parish, like North Village, that are institutional footballing clubs like PHC, we need help. We need to understand that in order for us to go to the next level, we need teams like places like Southampton Rangers. What's going on there? It's like, wow, it's not going to work for this country. And I hope for maybe the pageant that what they're trying to do there is rebuild an institution there, and it's going to be really something to see. But,
I want somebody to answer the question as who was responsible for making sure that these people, and I saw the comment just now that said that Rangers is not the only team. I don't care what team, I don't care who is playing. It could be an FA Cup final, unless the Boston Field one broke down or something like that. If you are not at the field on time, if you are not there for any kind of checks, a team cannot walk in the gate and go on the field, do a couple of side shuffles, and the whistle goes. Like that is so disrespectful to the game.
It's so funny, right? Because growing up, if I came to the backyard kickout purpose late,
you're not playing next year.
I had to sit on the side and wait for somebody to come off. Like,
you're not playing.
when I was on purpose, if I came there late, if I came there late and the teams were already established, I had to sit on, and that was in the backyard. I had to sit off and wait till somebody came off so I could get on, or
it just breaks my heart because
or a new
it's
person
disrespectful.
came so we can increase the number and even out the team. Like it was rules even in the backyard, kid. That we're not saying we're not upholding these rules in our Premier League is a problem. But that is a cause for another sort of conversation.
Sure.
Yeah, it's another conversation in the whole restructuring and fixing football, right?
Yeah. Well, we talked about Paget. They moved into second place. They still have a game in hand, following a 6-1 win over Somerset Eagles. Looking at a team like Paget, and we saw the influx of players that they were able to pick up. Things are looking up for Paget right now. I mean, they put themselves in a position to take one of these spots, if not the league title. But they put that all to the side next week. But taking care of Somerset Eagles this week would be a good thing for the club. What do you think, Maceo?
Yeah, well, I'm not going to waver on my standard of analyzing and criticism. Paget gave up a goal this week against Somerset Eagles. This is where I'm at. They give up a goal and they have to be disappointed. The expectation that with the players that they got at their disposal, there has to be an expectation that they steamroll this league and they get promoted. That has to be the expectation. Now, if they're going to build into the next part of their journey, they have to stop giving up these goals, especially to a Somerset Eagles, right? They'll give up a goal to a Somerset Eagles and they need to be disappointed about that. At the standard that they have a player, they need to be disappointed about the fact that they gave up a goal. But yeah, the expectation that they win the game is, I mean, they're going to do that, right?
Yeah. Punchy, I mean, we've talked in great length about Somerset Eagles and everybody West End teams, and we'll get to Island Rangers next. But Somerset Eagles not having the best of season, bottom of the table, 1 point, well, 3 points. I'm sorry, 3 points because they did win a game, but they've given up 52 goals and only scored 11. Must be disappointing for the club.
I know someone associated with Somerset Eagles, with Jeremy Salon is still there, still coaching. Again, restructuring program. What he has to work with in terms of the projection of where they're going. The Somerset Eagles is another case study in terms of what clubs in Bermuda in the West End are heading. What's happening up there? I don't know. I think when we talked at the beginning of this talk show, I think Somerset Eagles had taken a lot of young players from Somerset Cricket Club, and I would thought the expectations would be a lot higher in terms of results. But it's still, and I thought Gary Dow was helping out there also. I heard that Gary Dow was helping out, giving some his knowledge. But look where they are now. And so, it's another thing about talking about progress and what's happening in that area, in the Whitehill area, where they are, where they're going. I don't know if Mr. Jeremy can even fix that.
Right.
Yeah, he can't fix that. No. And what do they need up there? And Jeremy can't fix it. And they're a perfect example of a lot of clubs in that particular what's happening with them.
Right.
Again, with Island Rangers.
Well, I'm glad you just mentioned Island Rangers because they went down 6-0 to Young Masters Club, who are now keeping that promotion dream alive. I mean, they currently sit in third place. They've played 12 games with 23 points. Wolves have played 11 with 22. Paget's played 11 with 24, and BAA's played 12 with 25. But just staying there for a team like Social Club, looking at that, Punchy, they're doing just enough. They're getting what they need across that line. What's your thoughts on Young Man Social Club?
Again, Social Club was filled with a lot of players that didn't make the other teams. They didn't make the Northwoods first teams, didn't make the Anytowns first teams, but it's the progression of Social Club. Even if they are promoted, who's going to go and play for Social Club? What are going to draw? What would recruit players to go and play for Social Club? And I just don't think there will be another a perfect example of not Boulevard. Maybe some of the Boulevard players who will play over there, but no. Even if they are promoted, they won't stay up for sure. Not for sure. No, there's the Social Club institutional football right now is let's say with Mr. Lewis, Troy, but where's the progressor? Where's the junior program? Are they gonna be kind of like, okay, I'm gonna pay you to come play for me on the side? You know what I'm talking about. But where's Social Club? Even if they get promoted, where are they going? Who's gonna go join Social Club? Who's gonna play for Social Club? Are they take players from Dennytown? Or maybe they take players from Boulevard. I don't know. I just can't figure, where Social Club is going with this, even if they are promoted. It's easy in that division. It's not hard in the division to play in. Trust me, it's not.
Right. Maceo, what do we say about Island Rangers?
We knew this was coming, right? We knew it was coming. I was surprised at the momentum that they had at the beginning of the season. All right. But we knew this was coming. So it's not for news. Not too much we can say about Island Rangers. I don't know. I mean, maybe eventually these clubs eliminate themselves somehow. I don't know. I mean, it always leads to the other conversation that's in my head. While we analyze football and I analyze the youth league and everything, the only solution, and Bob Marley said, this is not my words, Bermuda. These are Bob Marley's words, and he's much wiser than me. The only solution to Bermuda football right now is total destruction is the only solution. And what I mean by total destruction is total destruction of what we have and rebuild it from the ground up. We can't band-aid it no more. We can't band-aid it. We can case study each club and we can figure out what's wrong. But the only solution to our football now is a total destruction of it. And then rebuild it. Rebuild it with a fresh idea. And that's from the junior ranks right up to and anybody in this country that says that it's working is delusional. It's not working. Anybody that says it's working is delusional.
But we're going to take another commercial break. When we come back, we'll take a look at our pick for next week's FA quarterfinals, as well as play of the week. We'll be right back.
It seems everyone knows someone who's lactose intolerant or just avoiding dairy products. And fortunately, there's a growing array of delicious and nutritious alternatives. Pacific Natural Foods have been doing things their own way simply and sustainably for over a quarter century, making non-dairy beverages with the finest possible ingredients right down to the packaging. Try Pacific Natural Original and Vanilla Hemp Milk and Almond Original Plant-Based Beverage, all sweetened or unsweetened, and low-sodium organic vegetable or chicken broth. Lindo's, why go anyplace else?
I'm also thankful and grateful because my greatest value of my life is my legacy.
But why I do it? I feel supposed to do it. I was put here to be here, to do what I'm doing right now. Once I see somebody moving, it's the greatest joy for me. There's a little person being born.
I am thankful that people have given me the trust, for me to empower them, from my players to my family to friends, and that's what I'm thankful for.
and welcome back. Well, let's take a look at those picks from last week. As we know, the Thursday night game, PHC and Hamilton Parish. Hamilton Parish won that 4-0. We all took PHC. We know the Devonshire Cougars Dendy Town Hornets match was not played on Friday night. And then Robin Hood and St. George's. St. George's won that 6-0. We all took St. George's. We all took North Village to defeat Somerset Trojans, and North Village did so 2-0. And we all took Crossroads to defeat Boulevard Blazers, and they did so 2-1. The Wolves Devonshire Colts match was not played yesterday. Island Rangers and Social Club. We all took Social Club, and Social Club won that 6-0. We all took Paget Lions to defeat Somerset Eagles, and they did so 6-1. And we all took BAA to defeat Southampton Rangers. However, Southampton Rangers won that 3-1. So with the 7 games played, we all got 5 points with still the outstanding Devonshire Colts Wolves match and Devonshire Cougars Dandy Town. I must note that we all took Wolves and we all took Devonshire Cougars for those 2 matches. So now let's look ahead because it's FA quarterfinal this weekend. On Friday night, out at the Devonshire Recreation Club, it is Devonshire Cougars versus St. George's Colts. Punchy.
Man. Wow. That's really gonna be. I wish that game would have been played at the Lights in St. George's. I wish. That's a difficult task for St. George's on a Friday night. Am I correct?
Friday night.
A Friday night. You know what time? Yeah.
8 o'clock.
That's a difficult one. If I'm a call this, sir, I'm gonna go with St. George's on this from my heart. Okay. I'm going from my heart because St. George's, with what they've been achieving in the last couple of games, they're coming for full flurry of the support. Their belief system is good. I think they can go out there and beat Devonshire Cougars the same way Somerset did it in that game out there that night and haven't recovered. But I'm gonna go with St. George's on this.
ACO?
I don't think it's going to be as difficult as we think for St. George's to win this game. I think we're thinking of it from the perspective of the stature of club that Devonshire Racing is and the history that they have at this level. But St. George's players are well in the ascendancy right now. St. George's players are well in the ascendancy of Devonshire Cougars' players. And Devonshire Cougars is walking wounded. You see one of the top players is injured. And even if it's back for the game in Simmons, even if it's back for the game, he's not going to be up to match speed. Devonshire Cougars has been patchwork for me. They've been patchwork. But with that said, a game out the rack, we all know the vibes and the difference. But I think St. George's will go out the rack this time. After they have played out the rack before, and they should have won that game too, but they didn't. Mm-hmm. They'll get it right this time. I think the players will get it right this time, and they're gonna knock Devonshire Cougars out of the FA.
Okay, and I think on court and form, I'm going to take St. George's as well. No surprise for a lot of people, but yeah. Saturday evening, I'm sorry, you was going to say something, Punchy?
I'm saying no. I just thought I meant.
Okay. Saturday evening at Stadium Lane, PHC versus Hamilton Parish. Maceo.
There's another night game.
Another night game. They've lost 2 night games off Stadium Lane.
So I watched the last game from the skybox with the ultra right up in the tracks. And I just like to see their vibe sometimes, right? Mm-hmm. And they're got a little anti-vibe about PHC on their night times. It's cursed on their night times. It's like a ghost, like it might be a ghost on there or something that in night times that PHC is not capable of handling right now, man. I'm taking Paris for this one. I think Paris is going to beat them back to back, man. I'm hoping, I'm tempted to play mind games with Paris by not picking them and see if they can prove me wrong. But I'm not. I'm not going to play those mind games, from this seat that I hold. And Paris should be learning. No, they should be in their space where they're learning that last week was last week. And now you got to bring it again this week. And you got to even bring it more this week. You got to bring it more this week, and there should be no mass celebration down there because they beat PHC last week, like they have won anything or didn't done anything. They should be very, very motivated to advance in the FA Cup. They should be very, very motivated, and I'll be surprised if they're not motivated. And remember, PHC as a team, that current team, rather club, they're not won a lot. So they are NC themselves. Remember, they won their first trophy last time. So they're not serial winners yet. Potentially they have the ability to be serial winners, but they're not serial winners. So they're going to walk into this game just as nervous that, oh, hold on, Hamilton Parish gave me the best punch and they knocked me out. They're capable of knocking me out again.
Right.
So they're going to be on the edge too. So I think I'm thinking Hamilton Parish.
Okay. Well, toy with this one. Toy with it. I'm actually going to take PHC only because after their losses, they bounce back and they've shown a lot of character when they after they've lost. They've really set themselves a mindset that they are better than what they were when they went down in defeat. And for that reason, and they're going to be home. I know that under the lights, they haven't been well up at Stadium Lane, but I just think the character of the team, with some of those senior players, I think they'll bounce back to probably edge Hamilton Parish, one goal here or there. So I'm taking PHC. Punchy, you're shaking your head.
It was interesting, right? And I think your theory is a very educated theory because Parish is now playing for something. So you can reverse it. They're playing for something. Whereas when they're playing in the league, there's no real pressure and expectation because they know they're not going to win the league, so they're free of pressure. They're not free of pressure this week. Right. Parish is not free of pressure this week, because they're playing for something. And they're playing for something that they want. And they're playing for something that they can taste. Yeah. But I'm good with them. I'm good with Parish.
Okay. All right. Punchy?
Hey, you know what? I'm going to agree with you. I'm good with Parish for this. And I'm going to give you a perfect example. Today's game between Manchester City and Tottenham, if I'm going to go that far in terms of the boogie, or what if Paris can redo the same thing they did in the 4-0 win, and for the FA, I think if you just keep those, you just do what's right. And you saw what happened with Tottenham and Manchester City today. Perfect example. But in terms of results, I think if Paris would do what they did against learn from what they achieved against the 4-0, what they did right, and stick to it. And stick to it and say, okay, this works against PHC. This is what didn't happen before. Now we've got the number. So now just going about and applying the same principles, just as we are talking about referring to what happened in Tottenham and City today. And I thought that I think that I'm going to Paris for this.
Okay.
I'm up for it.
This is an interesting game that I like to study because both of them are doing the right things, I would say, in football. I think these clubs and these teams are doing the right thing. Is a very interesting matchup. But I did notice when I watched PHC last week, there are some coaching things that I saw that, like, for instance, last week we had the conversation about the kid Abraham, right? Number 7, that what a wonderful season that he is having. But he struggled in the game against Paris last week, and they let him stay there long enough because they thought he was going to work it out. And he wasn't working it out. It was just progressively getting worse. And they should have pulled him earlier. And they should. So in a coaching standpoint, you just deal with what's in front of you, not what you think is going to be later or what is being last week. So you see some of the top, like you remember the times that Mourinho will be done and say, okay, this is not working. I got it wrong, and I'm going to change it at halftime. I'm going to pull it. I'm going to do it now. And PHC didn't do it now. You know, they waited and waited, and from a coaching standpoint, they didn't do it when it was happening. They, you know, and you make this mistake sometimes, so you just think that people's gonna work it out, and that's why I say they're not serial winners yet, where you could just let that happen, right?
Earl, it's really something to understand it, right? Okay,
Right.
you get this right this week, and do you get it wrong the next week? You know, what do you do as a coach and the players to get the result that you need in the FA Cup? And I think Hampton Parish will get that result right. I think Sergio's not going to let his guard down, and it's very good to understand that the players will do. It might not be. It's not going to be full enough, and I'm sure of that. I'm sure of that at all. I'm sure of that because PHC is a cup team, and Paris is still, you know, a young in that cup. But if he can get his things right, I think Parish will beat them next week.
I think what this does is make it more interesting. So Saturday night should have a very large crowd looking to see if Hamilton Parish can emulate what they've done Thursday night. Or will
remember, Paris is a very strong community too. They're a very strong community.
Yeah. One if they have a battle of the majorettes at halftime.
I'll pick Paris for that.
That's an institution. They're an institution.
Oh yeah. Well, on Sunday, it is Paget Lions versus Young Gun Sound. And I know for a fact that we've seen Paget, with Antoine not playing in the first half, having to come on and kind of steady the ship to get over the finish line. They won't make the mistake against this team. They will want to put this team away as early as possible, starting all their top players, and see if they can put this team away early and then maybe rest a few guys. But I'm taking Paget for this particular quarterfinal match. Punchy.
Paget and who? Social Club?
No, Young Guns from Commercial League.
Corona League.
Corona League. Sorry, Corona League.
It's Paget. The front three, Dion Starbucks, the front three. I'm taking Paget for this. The Young Guns can have all that running. Paget will match them for intensity. But then you got Dion Starbuck.
Antoine Ross.
Shakir Smith. I meant to Shakir.
Okay, Shakir Smith, yeah.
Yeah, and then you got Antoine.
Yeah.
This will be a test for him. I think Paget will go to the next round, and I'm picking Paget for this.
Sure. Maceo?
Yeah, this is straightforward for Paget. I think it's straightforward. Paget for me too.
Okay. The last quarterfinal match on Sunday is at Bernard Park. North Village Rams entertain Crossroads. Punchy, you're first.
I think North Village are going to win this one. I think they will beat Crossroads in terms of the performances. And I spoke about what I saw today, right? Remember, North Village has been built. Look at what they haven't been giving up. They have shot out today. The work rate was tremendous, and they played pretty good. There was a pretty good game on Somerset today. I was really impressed with the midfield area that I complained about with North Village at times over there. The lacking in ideas there. But I thought they came full circle today. And any team that went to play against Somerset today would have been in trouble. Somerset really, really were at it today. But I think North Village, what they have done in the beginning of the season, the defensive behavior was good. They closed people down, and the work rate was was really good. The distribution, these things that I complained about against PHC last week, they got it right this week. I'm picking North Village to beat Crossroads down at Bernard Park.
Very interesting. Maceo.
I even hate that I've got to have this conflict and this debate with myself about this game. I actually hate it. Here you got a top trophy winning club, and you got a top trophy winner coaching Crossroads.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, I made the analysis about the amount of trophies Ken has won as a coach, and it's at this level, and it's been 2 at this level. And the analysis is the amount of trophies Rolf has won as a player. And I'm telling you, his tasting trophies. Rolf is tasting something out of this season. He's tasting it. And North Village not going to deal with Thompson correctly. The small side of the field, that type of the field, the game, is going to suit Crossroads, I believe. And as a result, I think Crossroads are in the ascendancy of how they're playing, and they're going to want to be a giant killer. Rolfie wants to establish his name at this level. Trust and believe me, he wants to establish his name. And what bigger way to establish his name at this level to beat North Village and set up an opportunity for this developing club to be in the final, and also set up the opportunity for him to coach North Village too. Him and Sergio in the final. I can pick which one is going to get on North Village. I can pick somebody that's going to be at North Village that has the type of institutional passion and understanding of what is expected.
Mm.
Yeah.
So with that being said, you're taking Crossroads?
I'm taking Crossroads. I'm taking Crossroads.
Okay. I honestly believe that North Village have to prevent Donovan Thompson from getting behind them in the final third to advance. And I think Kenny will figure that out. He'll make sure that Donovan stays in front of the defense and not behind the defense, even if they don't all push up to the halfway line. And for that, I think that's where North Village will have the slight edge, only because they haven't been giving up many goals and they have scored quite a few goals. And Crossroads have been giving up goals. So I just think North Village will have just enough again to get over the line to advance to the semifinal. So I'm taking North Village. All right. So last week we selected Donovan Thompson as the Gosling's Player of the Week, and this was the presentation at Gosling's earlier this week.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ethan Phillip with Gosling's Rum, and I'm here with Donovan Thompson, this week's Player of the Week. So Donovan helped lead his team Crossroads to victory over Downeytown by helping score 2 goals against them, leading them to victory. So this is your prize. Congratulations, and congratulations on the job well done, mate.
Thank you, man.
That was Donovan Thompson. So let's look at the players that stood out last week. We all know it was a barn burner at Somerset Cricket Club where Devonshire Cougars defeated Somerset Trojans 5-3. Devonshire Cougars got a hat trick from Chris Casey. Somerset got a hat trick from Justin Corday. In other matches, we know Marco Warren scored the only goal of the game for PHC to defeat North Village, with Puig Fubler getting a shutout for PHC. St. George's had multiple scores in their 5-1 come from behind win over the Boulevard Blazers. And then the game that we talked about with the 2 top scorers in the league, or 2 teams that were playing well. Donovan Thompson scored for Crossroads. That was the equalizer to make it 2-2. Keon Knights had given Parrish the lead. In the first division, you had David Jones Jr. scoring a hat trick for Young Man Social Club. We had the 1 goal for BAA defeating Wolves, that top of the table clash. But standing out, Who I just broke down some of the players for you. Maceo, who would you say stood out in last week's fixtures for their team?
Well, it's not a player that we spoke of. I mean, I'm gonna throw a little spanner in the mix. I mean, the game, PHC game. I know Marco scored the penalty, but is the young kid, the number 4 that sits in the holding midfielder. Please come to me for PHC. He sits in that holding midfield position for PHC, and he was a standout. He was a standout. I don't know how I keep forgetting his name because he's definitely on my radar.
Is it Darren Usher?
The Usher's played at the right back.
Right, Usher's the full back.
Yeah, this one sits in. He sits in there very, very quietly for PAT at the holding midfielder. It's him. It's Marco, and he actually the one that allows Marco to play farther forward. He is doing that job that allows Marco to play farther forward. I forgot the kid's name, and I don't like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't even help you right now because I can't remember his name either.
you know the player that I'm talking about.
I know the player you're talking about.
Quiet, very, very quiet, man. And somebody that's listening to the show, please help me with that name. But he was a standout. He was definitely, a standout for me, sitting in that midfielder, and he was the reason that North Felix didn't actually score goals. He protected that back four very, very good last week against North Felix.
I'm gonna try and get his name in a minute here. Let's see. Is it DeAndre?
No, it's not DeAndre. Is this boy an old boy? No, it's not an old boy. I know DeAndre. DeAndre is the left back.
Is it Lodge?
Lodge. There you go. It's Lodge.
Yes.
It's Lodge. He sits there quietly in that midfield, but he covers everything. And he's the one that's allowed Marco to go farther forward and play beyond the halfway line. And he does a fabulous job there. And it goes unnoticed a lot. And I like to recognize those type of players for their contribution to the game.
Okay. All right.
Lodge, what's his first name?
It begins with a D. I'm just trying to find out now.
Yes, Lodge is his last name. I know his father, so I know the word Lodge. I know Lodge.
I can't remember. Hold on, I think somebody's got it. Not Kadeem.
No, not Kadeem. I know Kadeem.
Yeah.
I used to coach Kadeem at North Village, so I know Kadeem.
Yeah.
And Kadeem pops up with a lot of goals. This kid's not scored a goal this season, but if you notice, he's the first one on that team sheet every week. and the one of the matches that PAT actually lost, he wasn't playing.
Dion Lodge.
Yeah.
Dion Lodge.
Yeah. So Punchy, who stands out for you?
Well, a young man for Social Club. What was his name?
David Jones Jr.
Yeah, David Jones Jr. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of times we're talking with the players in the top division, what are the players doing, and even if it's playing for Social Club in not a division. But I would think about him. I haven't heard much about him. But
he's been amongst the girls. He's been amongst the girls of late for the Social Club.
He's played some football. David Jones has played some football in the UK. He actually grew up at Dandy. Right. He actually grew up at Dandytown.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I heard some really good things about him. So that would be my pick.
Right. I mean, 2 hat-tricks up at Somerset in the Premier Division at night. Chris Casey getting 1 and Justin Donowa getting the Justin Corday, getting the other. Playing away from home at night up Somerset, I would have to give my edge to Chris Casey. to lead to lead Devonshire Cougars to a victory. But now we have quote unquote a standoff. We need to call Keita back.
Yeah, let Keita be the deciding vote between the three of us.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we'll do. We'll contact Keita and we'll find out who she would pick out of the three. Give the scenario out of the three.
Yes.
She'll decide who the player of the week will be. So we'll all find out next week. And actually, next week we will air the show on Monday, as it is Super Bowl Sunday, and I know a lot of people will be tuning in to the Super Bowl and not us on Sunday evening. So we'll look to do the show on Monday.
Fair enough.
At 7.
All right.
Okay, folks. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Have a good night.
Take care.